T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Kush's Corner here on the Trap Talk Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world. I am live on location at Reptilandia Reptile Lagoon in Johnson City, Texas, and I'm sitting down with Ryu of Blackstone Exotics, and we're going to talk about all about her collection, the project she is working on, everything that is going on with her right now. But before that, as always, USARK. So USARK is the organization that is fighting for our rights to keep our reptiles, to run our reptile businesses, to live this lifestyle with our animals we love so much. Check out usark.org for all of the information you need to know about the organization. If you're not already a member, please look into becoming a USARK member. As a community, we have strength in numbers. The more people that are behind the cause, the better. And here we are. No crazy intro, no nothing. We are here live on location. For anyone who is watching live in the comments right now, first of all, very much appreciate you being here. If we have any audio issues, please let us know so we can try to adjust. But before we get into the conversation, for everyone who is here on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. New podcast drops every single day of the week here on YouTube. And we're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the audio platforms. So a 5-star review, a follow there is much appreciated. But since we're here, Ryu, good evening. Thank you for joining me. So for anyone who is not familiar with you, kind of give us a rundown of your life and times in reptiles, what has led you to where you are today.
Okay, so I've always been in love with reptiles. Ever since I was a kid, I was catching them in my yard. Especially blue racers because I grew up in Michigan.
Okay.
Okay. But so those are like special for me.
Yeah.
But then I eventually started working at reptile shops and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I was just so excited to be there and learn about all of them.
Yeah.
And then I started doing educational stuff, you know, bringing animals to schools and stuff like that. And it kind of worked its way up to now I work at Reptilandia as the head keeper.
Nice. Very cool. So it's always been part of your life from as far as you can remember.
Yeah.
And were your parents good about letting you have stuff in the house, or was that something you kind of had to wait for?
I had to kind of wait, but so my mom was definitely afraid of snakes growing up.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. Like I caught this huge garter snake when I was a kid. And I named it Rocky.
Okay.
And I put it in a cage outside, so that was fine. But yeah, I wasn't really allowed to till I got older. But over time, I kind of convinced my mom that snakes aren't so bad. You photobomber.
God, how dare you?
So, what was I talking about? My husband's a dork. Oh, yeah. So my mother was terrified of snakes growing up. And eventually I kind of got over fear with one of my ball pythons when I was younger. And now she loves them.
Oh, really?
She adores them. Yeah, she always wants to hold them and such. So I hope, I really hope to get as many other people on board with that same idea. You know, it's so important to me.
You're in a great position for that, doing what you do. I mean, not many people who are keeping reptiles really ever get to show them to people on any sort of regular basis.
Yeah,
so
right.
to be in that position, it's quite the responsibility, but I mean, I've been around when you've been doing it. You're great at it. You obviously your passion for the animals comes through. I mean, like in this current part of your life, how much of it for you right now is about the education compared to kind of what you're doing for yourself and your collection?
It's so tough because it's like it's almost 50-50.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's not really much for myself as it is for the animals on the other half of it. It's like I want to learn and I want to see what we can do to benefit these animals and find the missing puzzle pieces so we can keep them correctly in captivity too. Yeah. Just because like even simple things like diets and stuff, people don't realize how widespread a lot of them are. So that and then education is so important because we'll have people come through that were just stopping by or they just did it for their kids. And it's like, now's the opportunity. You can teach them, so much more. Yeah. And one of the best ways, in my opinion, at least with like the common public is kind of almost showing like a relation to humans in a way. Okay. Like, for example, it'd be like, well, rattlesnakes are maternal and stuff that. It kind of captures them. They'll be like, really?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
And it makes them less likely to just kind of shovel them in their yard or something because they're like, wow, it takes care of its young. It's kind of compares to a human in a way.
I haven't thought about that before, but that's a great point of like humanizing the reptiles in some way. I guess all of us people who love reptiles, we don't really think of that on a regular basis because that's just not part of our thought process. We love and care about them as much as we do. Yeah. Huh. Man, I did education for so long and I never really put that together until right now. Oh, that's yeah, that's a really cool way of looking at it. I mean, aside from that, are there any, like the rattlesnake example, are there any other examples that you use commonly to kind of try to make that human connection, I guess, to put it that way?
It usually is like maternal stuff. Okay. But there's another thing that was.
Do you think like that? Them seeing you interact with some of the bigger lizards or something like that? Does that do it too? Kind of like a dog human thing in a way?
Yeah. Like I'll show them, sometimes I'll walk by certain exhibits to kind of show them, like, for example, Boomy or Komodo dragon, I'll just walk right by him and he'll see me and he'll do this face. Yeah. And then I'll come over and I'll be like, look, they can recognize us. They're not just dumb animals. Yeah. They're smart. They connect with us. Even the crocodilians, they know my voice and they know who I am. So I'm like, look, they know person to person. They know voice. I even think that some snakes, they can tell who's who by vibrations.
I personally fully agree with that. I mean, I've especially when I was working at a zoo with a lot of people and a facility where there's a lot of employees and whatnot, I interact with an animal or someone else who's frequently doing it interacts with that animal. And then a new person comes in and the animal acts totally different. Yeah. And I mean, to me, the only possible explanation is some sort of recognition of that person or their level of comfort in the situation. Yeah. And whether it's the snake just recognizing a person being apprehensive or not, that's still them recognizing a difference there. So I don't think we give snakes enough credit for their level of intelligence personally. I know people will kind of, they'll dismiss conversations like that about snakes, but I think they're more than appropriate to have. Patrick agrees. So we're right on board. Hell yeah. What's up, Patrick? So I guess to kind of come back to you a little bit, what is your personal collection currently looking like? One thing I really appreciate about your collection is that you work with some, like a small group of species that I don't personally know anyone else is working with. Like you picked some really cool, really unique stuff. So what is your collection? I guess we'll start right now with just basic. What exactly is your collection you're working with personally?
So I do have some things that are kind of random.
Okay.
You know, like a couple different species of rattlesnakes or small colubrids that I think are really interesting. Even other small lizards, etc. But my main focus is Coachwhips and African lizards, like you know, a lot of cordylids and crag lizards and flat rock lizards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then why those? What brought you to that conclusion? I mean, and you know, species like I'm a snake person, so like I didn't even know about these lizards until you showed them to me. I was like, oh, these are really neat. I don't think I ever would have heard of them if you hadn't presented them to me. So like, what brought you to that point of choosing these species?
That's so hard. I don't know. It kind of started with flat rock lizards when it comes to the African lizards. I'm like, wow, they're just so interesting. They all come in these different colorations. There's around 14 different species and subspecies.
Okay.
And I think I remember the first thing captivating me about them was the David Attenborough video where he's hanging out with this huge group of flat rock lizards, the broadleyi, and it's over like almost this waterfall and stuff with all the rushing rocks, and they're jumping through the air, catching the flies. Oh, they're just so amazing. And they have all these interesting little social behaviors, and it's cool watching certain small lizards that are very social. Yeah. You know, and then, you know, it extends from there. The crag lizards are the same way. You know, they have these bonds and stuff, and I don't know, they're just very strange, and a lot of them are very elusive. Okay. So it's like one of those things where you really have to learn about them by putting a camera on them and seeing what they kind of do when they're not around.
Okay. So most of these behaviors, they won't show you necessarily right in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So I guess to bring it back a little bit, a lot of this is for me too, because like I said, I don't really know almost anything about these guys. So they're African, but which countries are they coming from? And then kind of what's their natural habitat looking like?
So, you know, they come from places like Mozambique and it's the one that starts with an R that's around, I don't know, all kinds of places. Rwanda? There's it's like usually in that general area. Sure. I'm having memory issues lately.
No worries.
But and a lot of them, they even like the non-flat rock lizard, cordylids and stuff, they really like all of these rock crevices to kind of just barely fit into. And it's interesting because everybody thinks that they're only kept super hot, but some of these places get really cool too. Yeah. So when it comes to keeping, I like to give them a really nice gradient where they can get up into the 90s and 100s, you know, stuff like that. On top of the rocks, have different layers, and then have a lot of these places also, they're not just deserty like some people would think. Okay. They're like meadows, you know, meadows by the water and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay. So then how do you translate that into your captive setting and how you set up their enclosures?
Yeah. Like I said, it's a lot of length for temperature difference. Okay. So like, for example, I try as hard as I can to keep my reptile room cooler, because then, you know, there's more of a chance for them to kind of choose where they want to be. Yeah. And then, you know, doing things like mixing rock, sand, and dirt, and leaving urates in there so there's familiar scents and stuff like that, because it's important also to not. I think I talked about this recently on Facebook, where I think it's really important to keep sheds and feces and certain things in there, you know, here and there. So it's not like everything's super sanitary and more human than it is animal. Yeah. You know?
I saw that post, and I tend to agree with that. I know that there's kind of a fracture, I feel like, pretty heavily these days in the keeping styles. But, you know, to me, it makes logical sense with a lot of what we're keeping, where there are some reptiles that are kind of nomadic and But almost all reptile species, they have their home territory that they'd like to maintain until they're unable to. And who's spot cleaning that den or that termite mound or like whatever, I don't know. So, and then like when you keep them super sanitary and then you also keep them more natural like that, you look at the animal. There's not really much of a difference. It's not like an animal that you are not spot cleaning 5 times a week or whatever is in like worse health. I think the only instance that you could take like that style of keeping and potentially see a detriment is if you're in like a zero ventilation environment.
Or like a giant dump from a giant snake.
Well, yeah, right. Like if you have like a blood python on paper.
Oh no.
And you let that thing sit for a week, and you have a problem. It's not our fault.
Well, and it's not even only about familiarity, but it's also about adding new elements.
Yeah.
Like a pile of leaf litter, new branches, or different scents and all kinds of stuff. That's like, oh, this is new. I can dig in this. Oh, this smells like the outside, stuff like that.
No, I totally agree. That's a couple of comments. What's up, MJ? Checking in. We wish you were here too, man. And Ari, I think he's ripping some lonely dabs, wishing that you were there to go back and forth with him and smoke him under the table. And Scott, good call on the Lugosi skin. That was actually one of the first things I noticed walking in here too. That's, super impressive. That thing's got to be what, 6 and change feet long. And it's probably not even, the snake is probably significantly longer than that. Yeah, it's super amazing. This is their house here is literally like a museum. It's really incredible. I think conversations about keeping philosophy and stuff like that, they need to be had. And even if like someone's listening to us have this conversation, melanocephalus, what is I don't think is that a mood or a stenophrys?
Stenophrys.
Just stenophrys.
It was I don't remember which zoo, but it was an old animal that was sent to us, and she was with us for a bit. Then one day she passed, super healthy. And it was so funny because I was like, okay, what's the lifespan of this species? And I was like, oh, it's this. And then we looked at the records for that snake, and it was at the exact year. So I thought that was pretty incredible, But,
it's always impressive when animals like that can make
absolutely beautiful. Ari did that himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, wow, that's super impressive.
It curled up over time, but he didn't want to waste such a beautiful animal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so.
That's awesome. But anyway, back to what we were saying.
Yeah.
Were you making a point and I cut you off, or did I cut myself off? Anyway, I guess we can go back to it. But I think conversations about keeping styles and keeping philosophy, just if anything, even if you don't change your mind, just to be open to a new concept. And just even like if you open your mind a little bit to what you're doing, tweak a little bit of this and that. That's how we do better for our animals and as keepers. So I didn't like come back to see if there was any fighting in the comments on your post, but I bet that could ruffle some feathers a little bit. Did it? Did you get it?
Surprisingly, everybody was like, that's awesome. More people need to do that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Hey, cool.
Great.
They were just all waiting for someone to actually say it.
I was like, oh no.
Shoot. That's awesome. So I guess to go back to the African lizard species, what is that gradient you're giving them? What's their coolant, and then like, are you giving a really like hot basking spot for them to go cook under?
Yeah. So I try to also give them rock stacks on both sides and in the middle, so it's not like, oh, I just have to be hot to feel like super secure or vice versa.
Okay, cool.
So I will keep them up in like the 90s and maybe even 100, depends on the species. And then some of them I'll get as low as like around 65 in the cooler area, if possible, depending on the size of the enclosure and stuff like that. But
nice.
There's other chordalids too that are burrowers, kind of like Smau giganteus, like the sun gazer.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
So they can get real cool as well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by setups where you really work with a very wide temperature gradient. I just think it creates a lot more natural behaviors and things. And I keep a lot of stuff on ambient as well. I think there's just a lot of practicality to it. And a lot of animals do really well, but obviously there's plenty of reptiles that come from a more temperate environment where that's just their body isn't made for that. And you do need to provide that gradient. But like my rattlesnakes and stuff like that, I feel like I get the most natural behaviors out of those snakes where, you know, they'll be down in the 60s at night, but then they'll have like 100-degree hot spot they can get to, and it creates a lot of cool natural movement patterns and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, shoot, I bet the lizards, they go probably crazy in those enclosures doing a bunch of cool natural behaviors.
Yeah.
So how popular are they from a pet industry, reptile industry standpoint?
So it's interesting. It really varies. Flat rock lizards, they aren't really that popular.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess that kind of goes to show how I'm like, it's not really for the money for me. It's like, I want to figure this thing out.
Sure, for sure.
I want something new that I can learn about. I like to learn. I like to keep my brain going. But yeah, flat rock lizards, it's one of those things where they used to be around a bunch in the hobby. But then they just started disappearing, like a lot of stuff, you know.
Sure.
People will get rid of stuff and then they don't realize they might never see them again. But it ended up being one of those things where it's like I was collecting them from different places.
Okay.
You know, there'll be like a random rundown reptile shop in the middle of the city. They'll have two there. Somebody will have one here and one there.
Yeah, sure.
And I just started kind of collecting them and breeding them together, you know, because instead of, you know, I want everybody to enjoy them, but instead of them kind of just traveling everywhere, you know, I hope to just kind of breed them and eventually like introduce them back into the hobby to anyone who might be interested.
Sure. Are they imported anymore, or are you just kind of having to find what you can?
To find them.
That's frustrating.
Laws in South Africa and similar, very tough.
A
lot of the other chordilids, not all, I mean, like the Tropidosternum that float around a lot, they just sell. So they're not really that popular. Okay. But some of the other ones like Mozambicus and like Smaug and stuff like that, or Cataphractus, are like just gold to people. And they really want them. But yeah, they're super hard to find. And if you find them, they're super expensive.
I mean, I was shocked when I saw how expensive sun gazers were. Like 5-figure lizards.
Yeah.
And not that they shouldn't be. They're I mean, they're some of the most amazing animals in the entire world, but like any reptile that demands that kind of price tag, kind of shocked you for a second. Oh, wow, why? Like, this is absolutely insane.
Well, and it's tough too, because it's like, it's not one of those things where it's like you can just get one, because they have that group mentality.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we have one female now, but it's like eventually when I'm able to, I'd like to get more.
Okay.
I mean, she does fine. She's great. She's sassy. She'll like stomp at me at the glass. Nobody else, just me.
Nice.
Because she knows I'm going to mess with her. It's tricky because it's like you really have to be committed. And a lot of people, it's one of those things where they try really hard, and if they don't successfully breed something, they kind of give up.
Yeah.
And Smaug is one of those things where I've only heard of 2 people doing it. Somebody that I know worked at a zoo and he did it.
Okay.
But I mean, I didn't even know what babies looked like until like a year ago when I looked them up.
Now that you mention it,
They're
can't
colorful.
say I've ever seen a baby either.
They're so cool.
You have to show me a picture after we're done with the podcast.
Yeah, they're so cool.
Huh. Yeah. That's kind of funny to think about, like how many reptile species we haven't seen pictures of babies of.
Because some are like the exact same but mini versions, and others they don't even look like it. Like, I don't know if you've ever looked into what are those laceridids with the giant heads? I mean, that's a lot of laceridids.
I was like, all no.
I don't remember, but there's one. It's the Canary Island lizards. But anyways,
Okay.
They like the babies look like just like little skinks. They don't even look anything like the adults, and it's so interesting because it's like if you do see something like that pop up on an exhibit, you wouldn't know.
Like, what native species?
How did that get in there? Yeah, so I don't know. It's just there's so many interesting things.
So what are your plans, kind of on the more long term approach with some of these African lizard species? Do you think that they're a viable candidate for something you want to like proliferate more in the hobby, or really are you more just like, I want to establish good colonies of these so we never lose them?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, both. And I'm very weird about that stuff, and I get asked a lot, like, oh, can I be put on a list and this and that? And I'm like, well, sorry, it's not all about me just dishing stuff off.
Right.
My usual thing is I like to breed them as much as I can till I get a good stable group. Yeah. And then I start, sending them off with people who are really good with that stuff. And then, eventually just start putting them back in the hobby. Yeah. And then, maybe there's more of a chance of survival and establishment for the species, especially like even places where the sun gazer lives. The temperatures are getting way too high because of climate change and stuff like that. Wow. So I mean, both. Yeah,
for sure. What's the turnover as far as the reproductive cycle goes? Or do they breed at a younger age like a lot of smaller lizards do, or do they take a while to raise up?
For the flat rock lizards, it takes a while. And then not only that, but the more annoying part is you don't know the sex until they're much older.
Awesome.
Some of them, because a lot of them you can sex them by color alone because the males are so bright compared to the females.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah.
So you wait for like those colors to start kicking, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
But the hard thing also about pairing them up is most of the females of the different species look the exact same.
Okay.
Just very, very slight differences. But
make some accidental hybrids. It's like, well, oops.
So it's kind of difficult with them unless you like get them from a really good source and you have the material to be like, hey, these slight lines are different or this and that. But like that species, they'll produce 2 eggs at a time, but it's like consistently through the year typically.
Okay, so it's not like a season per se, it's just kind of like evenly spaced out thing.
It's kind of random.
Okay.
The other chordilids, some of them I haven't had for that long, so I'm still waiting to learn more about them. But I finally produced the Pseudocordylus subvertus, the Drakensberg crag lizards.
Okay.
I just saw one baby. I turn around and it's basking on, and I lost my mind because I was just like, oh my god, that's so. Hopefully, I hope to do more.
Yeah, that's
stuff like that.
There's no better feeling than like finally seeing that baby for a project you've been working on for so long.
Oh my god.
God, yeah. Like eggs are one thing.
Yeah.
But man, like I see people post like clutches on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. They're all excited. I'm like, you might be, jumping the gun a little bit here. I'm like, I'm excited when I see the babies.
That's how I'm gonna be with that Coachwhip in there.
Yeah. Well. Speaking of which, I feel like from a snake standpoint, the one thing that you're very well known for, and rightfully so, are your Coachwhips.
Yeah.
Why Coachwhips? What grasped you about that species?
It's like, it baffles me that they're so common, especially, in North America. Yeah. I mean, there's several different kinds. But,
sure.
The ones that I have, they're just so common and nobody really pays them much mind. I mean, they'll see them in the wild and be like, cool.
Yeah.
But they come in all these really cool colors, like bright pink.
Yeah.
Like that is a natural color. Then you have the tans and blacks and silvers, and not only are they beautiful, but they're also super intelligent. And they do everything through their vision and stuff, and they'll watch you, and I don't know how to explain it, but watching them on the camera or in person,
they're kind of like a real legless lizard in a way.
Yeah.
Like, obviously not the best way to describe it, but they do have a lot of kind of lizard-like tendencies in a snake body. I mean, do you think it's just because they're fast and unpredictable?
Maybe.
I don't want to say unpredictable because you got to get to know the snake, but just people don't want such a fast snake. Maybe
I don't know. I mean, I've heard that a lot of people didn't think you could keep them properly in captivity, or I've heard that theirs didn't do well, or this or that. But honestly, you just have to give them enough. Like, I mean, sure, there's size, but not just size. Like, I like to give them a nesting box that they can go in with sphagnum. Nice heat. UV. I give them UV as well. Not enough snakes get UV. One of their favorite things is a wooden board on the ground.
Yeah, that's their natural habitat.
That's what they love the most. Yeah. All of them have laid underneath the wooden board, so that's like a staple. And climbing space too, like branches. Yeah. So a little bit of everything. Yeah. So as long as they have stuff to curl up under tightly and everything they need, it's not as bad as what people think it is. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and I feel like that might come down to them just not being a snake that's good in a rack system.
Oh yeah, no.
And then if a snake isn't good in a rack, most people might just kind of dismiss that species as something that they want to keep. So, like, how large are your adult enclosures? And I guess before that, how large are your adult Coachwhips?
I'm so bad with that.
Roughly.
Maybe around, for the bigger ones, maybe 6.5, 7 foot.
Okay.
I'm so bad at doing
that makes sense to me. That makes sense.
Yeah. The enclosures are usually like 4 to 6 foot, depending on the individual. Okay. But like I said, I give them all these elements, and they have height to them as well. So, yeah.
So then you said you kind of set them up very intricately. Yeah. You see a lot of natural behaviors with all the different ways that you set up the enclosures.
Yeah. And it's interesting because they're a snake, that's very wild. Obviously, they're animals and they utilize all of these natural things, but also they're a snake that you find in a farmyard and stuff like that. So they kind of like a little clutter to,
makes sense.
Yeah. So if they have a little bit of both, you'll kind of see natural behaviors. Okay. And I mean, not only are they pretty, they're funny. They all the stuff you do. I have these little Blink mini cameras and I watch them on my phone and I'm always laughing just because the stupid stuff they do. It's just so funny to me. Yeah. So they're just really entertaining too. They're not like, I mean, I don't think any reptile is actually boring. That's just me. But they're not like the boring reptiles like people would.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna. Well, I feel like that comes down to with a lot of diurnal colubrids. Yeah. A lot of snakes that we consider boring, you're just observing them while they're sleeping. Yeah. Like a green tree python, like that thing's gonna sit there all day, but if you're in your room at 4 a.m., thing's not gonna be sitting still. Yeah. So I think I encourage people to keep diurnal colubrids for that reason alone. Like, you're gonna get that variety of like, hey, look, this animal's actually doing cool stuff during the day.
Yeah. Or get a camera.
Yeah.
Watch all the little videos. Like, even, with my flat rock lizards and stuff, as soon as I enter the room, they'll be basking for a second, they'll be gone. But on my little camera, I get to see everything they're doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So not only are you keeping Coachwhips, but you also bred them as well.
Yeah.
What is your approach to breeding them? Are you cohabbing at all, or is doing like intermittent introductions? What's your strategy?
I actually usually will cohab a male and a female.
Okay.
And then what I'll do is around season, sometimes I'll take out the male and feed the female real heavily,
okay.
and then eventually place the male in. But this time I decided to try my hand at cooling, which is something I don't usually do.
Okay.
I kind of just let things do what they do for the most part. So I'm trying to see how that turns out. The big female pink Coachwhip that is Johnny Rosenbaum's. If I pronounced your name right, I'm sorry if I didn't. But this will be, if she produces, this will be her third clutch. Oh, wow. And then the male that I got from Steven here, which I adore him. He's a breeder, like through and through.
Good.
I am pairing him up with a different pink female this year, and he was just at it the whole time.
Nice.
So, yeah. So, I usually keep them together. And then on exhibit, I also have a trio.
Okay.
And they do really well too.
Okay.
So,
cool. Yeah, I feel like cohabbing colubrids can either be great or be not so great. I feel like there's kind of between, like they either really do well or, obviously excluding cannibalistic colubrids, like one could just be like really overpowering over the other, but it's cool. I feel like at least having only kept them for a limited time and just kind of somewhat understanding their ecology.
Yeah.
I feel like they would be a species that would do well.
Yeah.
Together, kind of be somewhat social.
Something I have heard though, but I've never personally tried, just because it never came up as a thing that happened. I've heard that keeping females together, they were kind of having some dominant issues.
Really?
Which is very interesting to me.
Interesting.
Males, they don't care. I've housed a male cingulum, which is the Arizona Coachwhip, with a male Western, West Texas Coachwhip. No issues. They don't mind each other.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I've heard females are weird about it, so I almost want to kind of test that theory. Yeah, I want to test that theory, and like I said, I have a camera on and see what interesting behaviors I can kind of map out and see if that is a thing,
Yeah. So you said you have a trio on exhibit right now together?
It's like a reverse trio.
It's a reverse trio.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I should have said it that way, yeah.
Okay.
The female's the boss, though.
Okay.
She tries to steal all the food. She'll go up to, there's a Curtilus ornatus, the ornate black-tailed rattlesnake in there. She will go right up to him, like she'll sneak around the board and then go right up to him as he's eating and try and steal a small rat from this little Coachwhip and just slowly go away with it like that. She's bold. She doesn't care. So they all have funny personalities and stuff.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, the males don't bug her, she's the boss.
Yeah. That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. Yeah, that's trying to think of what would make a species have that dynamic where the females are almost territorial with each other as opposed to the males.
I don't know.
Can't say I know either, but that's interesting because
it could be a dominance thing because some species, the females are the dominant ones. I've seen it in a lot of monitor species. The females are very dominant, and territorial.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Even if they're tiny compared to
males. Exactly. They do that, and I mean, even looking back to when dinosaurs existed and stuff, you hear that the female Tyrannosaurus is more powerful than the male. I mean, even with lions, the females are doing all the hunting and all this and that. So I don't know. It seems to kind of move into reptiles with that whole thing sometimes too.
That is definitely true.
Yeah.
Lisa has a good question here. So on the cohabbing topic, will they hide and sleep together, your cohabbed Coachwhips?
Yeah. Actually, they always sleep together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
They curl up together, do their routine. They spend a lot of time together. It's interesting. Yeah.
Well, pop back up. My computer is being a little bit slow to.
It's okay. I am too.
So, other than that, the behaviors of the hiding together, and then like kind of the food time madness, is there anything else that you're seeing in that big display that you kind of see as interesting or notable from like a social dynamic standpoint?
What, on exhibit?
Yeah, on exhibit.
What do you think? I don't know. It's
like, will they have periods of separating from each other and then coming back together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the exhibit I have set up is very like farmyard. There's like a wheelbarrow.
Okay.
And like tins sitting on the side, and then this hill that they can go up under a basking light and get real hot, stuff like that. So sometimes, one or two will sit on the basking spot, and then the others will be, under the tin. It just kind of depends on what they want at the time. Sometimes they will kind of be more competitive for food, where one you can see a little bit less chunky than the others.
Yeah. Sure.
But so you have to kind of like make sure. You have to, like, what I do is I'll feed other exhibits. I'll keep coming back to check. Feed other, keep coming back to check. Make sure everybody. It's easier on the smaller stuff, even though you wouldn't think it is, but it's easier on the smaller enclosures.
Yeah. Running back and forth.
Yeah.
Do they bask together, or do they kind of go like one at a time up to that? Do they have multiple basking spots in the enclosure too, or just the one?
They have one that's like a really good basking spot, and then the other one's kind of like this thick branch. But even when there's multiple, they like to hang out. It's like the Coachwhips, they like to just curl out or curl around each other, lay on top of each other. Yeah. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So another Coachwhip topic, raising babies.
Yeah.
How was that process? Were they good feeders? Were they a little bit tricky? What was it like to raise baby Coachwhips?
So it's really tricky at first when you don't know.
Okay.
A lot of people would either not have a lot of success with them, or they'd have success with lizards. I personally have not had a ton of success with lizards when it comes to Coachwhips.
Okay.
I have other baby racers though.
Okay.
With Coachwhips, I mean, it doesn't sound as ideal, but the best luck I've had is assist feeding them a pinky head right off the bat. Okay. And they're very stubborn at first, but then pretty quickly they'll be like, okay, this is food now, and then they'll grab it and just,
Oh, right.
So it just takes patience. You really gotta like get them going first. But that's the best way I've done it, so far. So that's kind of how I do it, and I keep them in racks as little tiny babies. But you have to make sure the racks are super secure for those little things.
I bet. My gosh. Yeah. Have you had any scares with that?
I did, especially on the first clutch, because I had this really, really tall, nice rack with all these different size tubs and stuff. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm excited to use it. So I'm going to use this for a bunch of racers and stuff. No, it had to be a small, very secure rack to the point where it does the like annoying, so especially when you have a water dish in there. Like, crap, I just spilled it everywhere. Yeah. So they're little tricksters because they're just so small and skinny. They can just squeeze through.
I mean, I remember you showing me babies last time we were here. and they weren't even newborn.
Yeah.
And they were tiny. I was like,
I
oh my
know.
gosh, that's insane. I mean, they're very like, they're long and like little tiny twigs.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I start them in that, and then now I have a thing where I have this, like, I don't know if anybody remembers, you know, the Neodeshas, but there's like these like ones that are like this big, and it's like a 3 stack, and it just it has like the sliding doors, and it works perfectly for like when they start outgrowing that, and then I get them into bigger tanks, you know, it just keeps going up. So yeah. So
once they get onto food, do they kind of like switch flips in their brain? They're like, all right, I'm on it. I'm eating and growing now.
Yeah, but they're all they all have their different personalities too. Some of them you have to sit there, you gotta make them mad, and then they'll be like, and then they'll drop it. Or the best thing, well, it's the worst thing too. It makes me really angry, but it's funny. Okay. They'll grab it and they'll be like, yeah, I have it. And then they'll toss it like dramatically across the cage. I'm like, you little jerk.
Oh my gosh.
They just do it, so I'll get off their back.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So do they really like, do they drop feed at all, or do you kind of need to get them to take it off of tongs for them to eat it?
At first I need to get them to take it off of tongs. Now I can just set it in there. Okay. And that's nice. We'll just eat them, you know. Yeah. So I like that. Yeah. So
for anyone who doesn't know, who's listening, one of the really cool aspects of Coachwhips, amongst many things, is that they do go through an ontogenic color change. How quickly do they start to change those baby colors as soon as they get going?
So it seems to be different for different Coachwhips. Okay. The pink ones that I pair together are very bright. So the babies start kind of showing the color on their heads a little bit earlier than some of the other Coachwhips I've seen. Okay. But you know, every Coachwhip I've raised, it starts on their head. You know, you'll see some slight pinks, and then it kind of like goes down their body. It'll like go down their neck, but it takes a while for you to see their true colors, like a long time.
Like a couple of years, or?
Yeah, for me, because I slow grow a lot of my stuff. Okay. I'm not like, you know, feed. Yeah. I just kind of, you know, slowly
let them do their thing.
Yeah, do their thing. But yeah, so it takes a while. But I already can tell like that last year's babies and the year before, they're going to be beautiful. Yeah. They're already showing a lot of pink. So yeah, it's interesting. It's like, I mean, they all start out as like little brown or cream looking babies. You know, they look so normal. Actually, a lot of baby racers look pretty much the exact same as each other. Sure. So it's interesting to see what you're going to get. Yeah. You know, 'cause you have no idea.
So far you haven't seen any indications like, okay, this baby hatched out this lighter shade or this dark or whatever. Like, is there any like signs you're looking for from early on that will tell you this one's going to be really nice, high contrast, whatever you're looking for, or is it still kind of crapshoot?
Still kind of a crapshoot. Okay. Aside from, you know, the pink just slowly starting to. But I mean, last year's babies they have some orange splotches that are showing up and stuff. So that's going to be really interesting. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's just some kind of goofy coloration or. So it's going to be really cool to see how that ends up. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess to bring it back a little bit on the Coachwhip topic, how many unique subspecies are there of Coachwhips?
Oh, man. There's a lot.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's why
there's a lot.
There's quite a few.
And then you think you know them all, and then you see one from a different country. You're like, whoa, what is that?
Or I guess U.S. native. If you want to keep it
there's still, more. I mean, even if you get, you know, your Westerns and your Easterns and your Arizona Coachwhips and stuff, even within those, like typically the Westerns are like cream and pinks and stuff like that. Yeah. But you can still see like black and tan and just all these color variations within the same area. You know, they're just so different. Yeah. They're just also individual from each other. So like the Eastern ones are usually really dark black.
Yeah.
And they're jerks too. Compared to the Western ones, I don't know what it is. At least mine are. They're so mean. But I don't know. It's interesting. In my opinion, even the most bland ones are gorgeous.
Oh, for sure.
So I just they're just so unique, you know. They're variable is what makes them so cool.
I feel like the high pink ones can really grab attention for people. Make people even know that these things exist to begin with.
Actually, I use that too for like people that come in and are afraid of snakes and stuff. And you know, a lot of people, the common public, they'll be like, "Oh, you know, snakes are ugly. Reptiles are ugly." I'm like, "Oh yeah, did you know they come in pink?" They're like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
So I like to use that too as one of the things. But go ahead.
Yeah.
I just want to.
No. That's a great point. But I feel like once you are aware of these snakes, then you can actually start to appreciate some of the, I don't want to say less beautiful ones because they're not, but the ones that might not grab your attention right away. Yeah. And you know, really understand the depth within the Coachwhip complex, because it really is more than just like dark Eastern Coachwhips and then crazy pink ones I see on Instagram. Like, you know, there's a whole lot more going on. Yeah. And I think you're doing a great job of bringing light to them and you know, letting people know that these snakes even exist to begin with. So how many species or subspecies do you currently keep of Coachwhips?
Let me think. Not a lot, honestly. Okay. Mostly Westerns. Okay. The Westerns, Easterns, more local stuff, and then the single Arizona, which I'm trying to get a female for. But in total, I have around 14 Coachwhips. Okay. So it's a lot.
Yeah, I could imagine so. Are the Arizona Coachwhips just like an uncommon subspecies, or?
I don't know. I had picked up the male at random from a now friend at a show. So it's like, it just was there, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. And that was even before I like was seriously like keeping a ton of Coachwhips. Okay. But I've been trying to find some more, and no luck. So
yeah, I mean, I guess
maybe I should just go there.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, but you know, I guess then you're kind of just, you're either waiting for like imports to be on some random table at a show, or like some person who's been living under a rock to like,
that's my whole life.
Babies.
That's my whole life with reptiles. It's because nobody likes what I like.
Well, not yet.
Yeah.
So the one animal that we definitely need to discuss.
I was just waiting for it to come out.
Yeah. No, we had to let everyone, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone had to wait for it. So the albino.
Yeah.
Tell us the story of the albino, because that animal is just spectacular.
Yeah, he's amazing. So my good friend Connor Wardle, who's a wonderful person, also super, super passionate about racers, and all sorts of other Texas natives. He basically, this is just off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly detail for detail, but I guess I think he got a call from somebody that they had found a snake in their shed, and they're sitting in a little box is this little tiny baby albino Coachwhip, a Western Coachwhip. So he had raised it up, and you can tell that he really like cared for it and handled it and stuff, because it's a very friendly snake. Yeah, which is cool when it's like, wow, this is crazy looking and rare, but it also is super friendly. Yeah, wow, it is like a package deal. Yeah, but I'd been in love with that snake forever, and at some point he needed to downsize. Okay. And he was kind enough to gift him to me. Nice. And that's awesome. I've just been so in love with that snake. You know, he's the the one animal that's in my bedroom. Yeah, like I have him around at all times, doing his thing, and he's just so incredible. I mean, if you want to see him, you can go to my Blackstone Exotics page on Facebook or Instagram. I'm always posting photos of him and the other Coachwhips and stuff. But he basically has like this koi fish coloration where he starts off like an orange and it goes down into white, like pure white. And he's just so beautiful. But it's the only animal I know of.
Okay.
Like I mean, I'm sure there's more somewhere.
Sure,
possibly.
inevitably,
but it's like it's so exciting because I mean it's lots of pressure too.
Yeah,
but
just a bit, just a little. We're all counting on you.
I know. So, but it's so exciting because it's like I want to see what happens.
Yeah.
So, the big female that's on loan from Johnny, I'm pairing her this time with him.
Okay.
To see what happens because he just reached maturity, and I'm like, okay, so this is a crapshoot. You know, he seems really small compared to her. I'm gonna keep my eye on them. You know, let's try.
Yeah.
I cooled them both, and I watched them on camera and in person consistently. No issues, nothing scary. Which I was like, you know, oh my god. And then he eventually, you know, started courting her and doing his little head bob on her and stuff like that. And, you know, and they kept, you know, tail and twine, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, but, I didn't say locking because I didn't see them personally lock with my own eyes.
Okay.
But I saw him on camera always, you know, twisting up tails and stuff and doing everything else. And I'm like, okay, you know, maybe not this year, but that's okay. Next year, let's try. But then the female just started getting huge, just fat, like no denying. I hadn't fed her in a bit. It wasn't that. She was thick. And she still is right now. And I'm like, oh crap, that's like absolutely something.
Yeah.
You know, there's no doubt about it. So I'm like, okay, I'll give her a little bit longer and I'll pull the male out. So she started going into a really deep shed suddenly. And I'm like, okay, I'm pulling the male out. This is the deepest shed I've ever seen her in.
Okay.
First time she's ever stopped eating. And now she's shed and she's super hungry, but she's still like really fat and like basking a lot. So so if we get a pink,
good luck.
Yeah. The pink with an albino, I wonder what'll happen. See, I personally don't know anything about genetic coloration at all. Like I've never like
not your thing.
So it's like, oh, it's a surprise. I don't know what's gonna happen at all.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be really cool to get a visual albino of sorts. But even if they're hats or if they come out something else, it's still cool. But man, I would lose my mind if I saw one. Yeah.
So let's say, you know, you get the clutch, you hatch babies, they're all totally normal looking. Are you keeping every last one of those babies?
The albino ones?
Like the head albino theoretical ones?
So I'll send some to Johnny.
Okay.
It's his female.
Nice.
And I will send some to Korner too because he was so kind to gift me that albino.
Yeah, for sure.
So I have to give back, you know.
For sure.
And then I'll keep the others. So they're not going nowhere.
Yeah.
Even though everybody begs me, just one. No, not yet. We'll see what happens. The pink ones, I am running out of room for on babies, so I'll have pink ones available.
Okay.
That's it.
I mean, I bet you have a good amount of people hit you up with interest in them. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people seeing you work with them probably gives them some hope that they can do it themselves too. Kind of like demystifies the species a little bit of like, okay, someone's actually successfully keeping and breeding Coachwhips. Like, maybe I can do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely really appreciate your work with the Coachwhips. Part of why I sent that mail over here was I knew that he would be in good hands.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. That started the crackhead Coachwhip obsession as well. So that didn't help. Thanks a lot.
Right. I'll be an enabler on that one.
Yay.
That's awesome. I mean, do we miss anything on the Coachwhip topic, you think?
I guess one more thing is
for sure.
Probably one of the other reasons not a lot of people keep them is not a lot of people can catch them.
Actually, we have a comment. Brandon left about why he decides he doesn't even try to catch them.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I mean, I appreciate the honesty, Brandon. You probably didn't have to say that if you didn't want to. But.
I have terrible knees, so I mean, I didn't technically catch them myself.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel like
that is true. I mean, you might have a split second to decide to dive on that ground or not, and that snake is gone, and you are never seeing it again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's definitely a thing to be considered in this whole Coachwhip conversation. It's like the physical act of catching these animals to begin with. But we are about at that hour mark, so we are going to go to our commercial break. But stick around. We'll be back on the other side.
For the #1 PVC enclosures in the reptile game, no better place to visit than Focus Cube Habitats. Excited for today's sponsor, Focus Cube Habitats, #1 enclosures in the reptile game by far. Everything you see behind me are 3x2x2 PVC design enclosures by Steven and Ashley over at Focus Cube Habitats. They're based out of Texas. If you head over to their website, you can select from over 30 plus different enclosure designs that they've done. Two of the hardest working people in the reptile hobby today, and I'm so excited to add more Focus Cube enclosures. So much again, Steven and Ashley. I appreciate the 5+ years of partnerships that we've had together. Looking forward to growing more. Head over to focuscubedhabitats.com, head over to their YouTube channel, subscribe, and check them out on Instagram. Thank you so much, Focus Cube Habitat. When you think about building a good community and being a leader of that community, nobody comes to mind better than Mark Hager over at Texas Chondros. That's right. Make sure you head over to TX Chondros on Instagram and also head over to Mark's website, see what he has available green tree python wise, and be ready for quite the 2025 green tree python breeding season out of Mark Hager. He's a veteran in the green tree python game, one of the best and nicest breeders in the green tree python game. He's been putting on the whole state of Texas for as long as I've known him. So if you want to see all the amazing other chondro keepers out of the state of Texas, another good reason to go follow Mark Hager over at TX Chondros on Instagram. And again, head over to his website, texaschondros.com. You can find all the links in the description below. Thank you so much, Mark Hager, for supporting the trap. Treat.
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. One of the things I love about being a part of the reptile industry is all the learning, okay? Learning can be fun, and I can prove that to you. Thank you so much to today's sponsor, Gary Scavino over at gs.reptiles. I highly recommend you head over to his YouTube channel, follow all this man's content when it comes to learning about rare species of snakes you could be keeping in the hobby, and also just finding out how easy a lot of these rare species of snakes are to keep in general. So thank you so much, Gary Scavino of GS Reptiles. Again, head over to his YouTube channel. Also head over to his Instagram to be on top of all of his current work and be ready for a big year over at GS Reptiles. Thank you so much, Gary, for your ongoing support. I really appreciate it. Cheers. One of the biggest growths we have in the reptile industry today are the rare species of reptiles that aren't worked with. That's right. That's why I went ahead and partnered up again with Brian Susan over at SUNDOWN Reptiles. Brian works with species such as kahua geckos, gargoyle geckos, all species of tree monitors. He works with abronia and many other cool species geckos that you can check out all on his website. Head over to sundownreptiles.com, see what he has available. Brian's one of the best doing it in the reptile industry today. He's been on the show multiple times, so make sure you check out all of Brian Susan's episodes on Trap Talk Reptile Network. But more importantly, for the highest quality of captive bred reptiles, make sure you head over to sundownreptiles.com and make sure you give him a follow on Instagram. Thank you again, Brian Susan over at SUNDOWN Reptiles.
Alrighty, everybody, we are back from our commercial break. Thank you, everyone who's been tuned in tonight. Definitely excited. This is the first stop on the Dallas weekend tour. Going to the NARBC show this weekend. Ryu is back and be hanging out with Mr. Patrick Holmes for the weekend. It's going to be a fun time. If anyone is going to be at the show, if you see us walking around, say hi, chop it up for a bit. This is what these reptile shows are all about. So, welcome back. Lisa, I did not miss your comment. I was waiting until after the commercial break. But you went to Papua.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I saw the gizzard thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's hit that first. That I think is about baby Coachwhips. So, chicken gizzards.
That's a good idea because you know what? I have had one or two that have gone off feed. And suddenly, because Ari would get gizzards for a bunch of zoo animals and stuff, be like, can I steal that? So I give it to him just instantly.
Oh, really? Okay.
So
wow.
That's a good idea.
Awesome.
I like that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even think about it for babies.
Yeah. So I guess, Lisa, you just set off a light bulb over here. Thank you.
Also, I just saw the female in there when I went to the restroom. She's basking and she's kind of doing that, laying slightly on her side.
Okay.
I was like, oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. So you've done something that most of us could only ever dream of. How was it? How was it to be over in the land that we all dream of over in Papua?
Oh man, it was a dream.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I didn't want to come back to the US
I
for several reasons.
Yeah. So I guess the thing that always gets me, I'm better than I used to be, but I can struggle on an airplane sometimes.
Yeah.
That flight over there, I mean, what was the itinerary from, I'm assuming, originating in Austin to getting to Papua? That must have been, I mean, Ari over there in the background is the professional at getting to Papua. But as a first timer, what was that trek like?
Well, the airline was nice. I mean, Japan Airlines.
Okay.
I mean, they provide all kinds of stuff and it's nice and comfy. Yeah, snacks. That's why.
Okay.
Also, free ice cream. But
all right. I'm sold.
But it is so long. No matter how comfy the plane is, your back is gonna kill you. And so it's like getting that out of the way is a big part of the trip.
Yeah. So was it from the U.S. to Japan to Jakarta, and then, or how did that like?
Ari, was it?
Jakarta,
Yeah.
Japan, Jakarta, Jaipur.
Yeah. So
all
basically,
right.
Basically when you're there, finally, it's like then it's really short plane rides to these separate areas.
Sure.
So that part's great, but yeah, it's long. So if you do not like plane rides, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you can get through it, Indonesia is a wonderful place.
Yeah.
You know, and there's several different types of places out there. You know, if you're not the kind of person that can rough it, there's places like Bali. You know, you can go and you can still go herping. Like right outside the resort. So you can have a little bit of everything no matter where you are, pretty much.
Fair enough. So I don't know if anyone could have caught it on the mic. Wamena was the destination. Was that where you guys were, or did you guys go from Wamena to further destinations?
So we went, what was it? We went from Jakarta to Jayapura to Wamena. Okay. And then to Bali. So we went kind of so all over the place.
So did you kind of do stops in each place and do
kind
some?
Of, yeah, kind of. We spent most of our time in Jakarta.
Okay.
Just because we have friends out there and
and
stuff like that. But yeah, Wamena. is a dream.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
So what were you guys targeting Bolins out there?
Oh yeah, targeting Bolins and of course the locals there. Just being part of their culture and everything is a huge part of it. A lot of people don't realize when it comes to reptiles, another huge part of learning about them and appreciating them is through other cultures, because there's different representation there than what we think of them. Some of them will be worshipped as gods, or their parts will be used for instruments or different things like that throughout the world, and it's just different. So you can learn from these people. Not only that, but they know where things are. Sure. And they've seen and can describe things that we have never heard of. Yeah. So it all connects together. And not only that, but just the culture alone is fascinating. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what was it like just, becoming immersed in that? We've all heard Ari talk about it on the podcast, but, that's also from a seasoned veteran. You're, what was that? I know you were obviously prepared, but what was that real culture shock like of actually getting there and like, okay, this is no longer stories and pictures. This is, I'm here, I'm doing it. What was that shock, that culture shock kind of experience like?
I don't know. It was tough at first. It was really tough climbing up there. It's a long trek. And I have, for those of you who don't know, I am a cripple. I have awful knees. I've had like 5 hip surgeries growing up. Geez. So climbing even the hill from work to my house is difficult. But it's like when you really love something, you can go for it. Yeah, you can put something aside as much as possible. Yeah. But it was so fascinating seeing us versus these natives there climbing and scaling these places. Like you would have these older women and they'd be carrying packs and packs. They'd be barefoot. Yeah. They'd even have a kid on there and stuff. It's just like no problem. Yeah. And we're back here, suffering because it's so hard. Except Ari's a lot better at it than me. We go hiking anywhere and he's like way ahead of me because he's just so used to it. Yeah. But they're so amazing at what they do. Yeah.
No, I could only imagine so. Yeah. So what were the highlights of the trip? What did you guys find up there?
So we mainly stayed in the village, so we didn't go far out to hurt this time. Yeah. Okay. Just because the main target was the Bolins, and we were trying to be as safe as possible too, because this is the first time he's brought a female in these areas, and so he wasn't sure exactly how safe it would be. Yeah. But so and not only is it just that tribe, but there's several others. Sure. So we don't really know. You want to run into the wrong place. But the pleasant surprise was all of the villagers were so kind to me. That's awesome. They'd help me climb. They adorned me with like bracelets and bags they made, and a friend of ours that lives there, he carved these people for us that represented him and I. Oh, nice. But like as villagers, pretty much. And that's cool. Even a little hut, which they call a honai there. But the kids would watch me because I had like my colorful hair, so they're all like what? And they saw I was obsessed with these little skinks running around, which to them it's like, oh, they see it every day. Right. Like, oh my god! And so one time, like at the entrance of our hut, I have a picture of them. There's all these kids, with handfuls of the skinks, and they know where they are. So it was just great. Everybody was so kind, and they were interested. They were just as interested in us as we were in them. Yeah, sure. So. Yeah, I mean, that's got to be quite the event for them to have. Huh? Oh
The
yeah,
end.
the end.
What happened at the end?
It did get sketchy for a second.
Okay.
So like, okay, so they did build a hut for us, a honai, for Ari and I. Huh?
That's not gonna do.
Oh. They built one for Ari and I, and so we stayed in there. It's incredible, by the way they build it. It's just like, I can't even fathom the construction behind that. But anyways, so we're sitting there, kind of hanging out. The weather is beautiful there, by the way. It was just perfect up there.
Yeah.
Slight breeze, nice and warm.
What was the elevation where you guys were?
All right, what would you say the elevation was?
6,800 feet.
Okay, 6,800. So, I mean, those had to be some pretty nice, cool nights. 50s or what were you? Yeah.
Probably low 60s to upper 50s.
That's so nice.
See,
Wow, that's beautiful.
In a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
See,
that's awesome.
I'm like cold-blooded, so I get cold so easily.
This is terrible.
So no, when he was telling me about it, I'm like, oh God, no, I don't want to be that cold. When we were in the hut, it was cozy as could be.
Nice.
I didn't feel any of that. It was so nice. And then you hear like these very interesting like insects in the background and stuff. I love jungle sounds.
Yeah.
But what were we talking about?
The end.
The end. So yeah, I get distracted really easily.
No worries.
So basically, there was one point. It was funny because I was kind of like yearning to see someone in traditional garb, right?
Okay.
Because over time, with all these people visiting and kind of changing their culture slightly, etc., they end up wearing like clothes like us.
Sure.
I mean, not quite to our extent, but old clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't really get to see the traditional garb. What? Oh, stop talking to the dog.
Lucy's a star.
I keep
What do you
thinking
mean?
Mr. Expert in Papua is like correcting me this whole time, but he's talking to our dog.
Yeah.
And anyways, so yeah, okay, so luckily, this old man from a different village treks all the way down from high up in the mountains where he lives, and he shows up at our village, and it's just like, holy crap,
Okay.
Here he is in all his traditional garb. He's only wearing a koteka, which is a penis gourd, and like just these little adornments and stuff. And I'm like, wow, and this guy, like that is an old man that is strong and has survived like so simply. And so I got some great photographs of him, etc. And then basically this was leading up to this part where we were all kind of hanging out. It was kind of everybody just chilling, eating sugar cane and smoking Indonesian cigarettes, etc. They have like this little rock formation, kind of like how you'd sit on stumps around the campfire or something, right outside our honai. And Ari and I are just chilling in the honai, and suddenly we hear like this yelling in the background, like off in the distance, and like chanting almost. And all of a sudden, we just see these older men, including him, just bolt with their arrows and everything, just with them, just bolt. And we're like, oh shit, we're sitting there like, what's going on? Yeah, intimidating, but very interesting. So, we're hanging out there, just hearing the yelling and stuff. We're like, oh God, this is it. We're the white people here. We're doomed.
Yeah.
So, that happened. And turns out, I think it was another villager that was, jealous of our attention to these people in particular, because, we're bringing them groceries, basically.
Sure.
We're giving them money,
Yeah.
and money's scarce there, so they're like, oh, they're jealous, and so they get in a fight over money, and so it kind of became this thing where it's like, okay, we should go now. So
Yeah.
we're not like, and so our friend Natalis, who is like one of the heads of the village, he helped us back down. He was kind of like, like a little black eye and stuff. So he got a little bit of it.
Yeah, he got roughed
but
up a bit.
he's like short and he's like built. Like he's a tough guy. And he's so nice. But yeah, so that was like, all right, here's a time to go.
Yeah.
Just in case we didn't want anything to de-escalate.
Sure.
I mean, not even
Jeez.
even if it wasn't going to de-escalate for us, we didn't want them to have issues with each other.
Sure.
Because of us.
Because you guys were there, yeah.
Yeah, but it was a wonderful time. We saw the skinks, a bunch of really cool insects. They brought us a scrub python. All right, what scrub python was that again?
Scrub python.
A northeastern scrub python.
Yeah.
See, I don't know my scrubs very well, to be honest.
It would have been what the hobby would refer to as like a Wamina type. Slight barn neck look, brown and yellow patterning essentially. So
yeah. So yeah, it was that and a male Bolin's python that we got shots of out there.
I mean,
Beautiful.
You say that so casually, like that's not the most incredible thing in the entire world.
It is,
I would
though.
fly across the world to see a scrub and a Bolin's and to leave and come back. So
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Jeez. Yeah. I mean, I assume you don't want to make this a one and done, right?
Oh. Yeah. He made a mistake there because now he's stuck with me going there. I mean, not every time, I still have to look after our stuff in the zoo.
Sure.
And he needs to go and be able to do his research. Some of the places he goes are even more dangerous. So,
right.
It's safer for him as well if I don't go, not only me, but because then he doesn't have someone else he has to look after. And he can just,
sure.
do what he needs to. But, other than that, I'm taking advantage as much as possible because I love it there so much. Ever since I'm like, Ari, are we moving there? When are we moving there? Because oh my God, everything. Not only the animals and the culture, but the food. I'm a big foodie.
Okay.
And it's amazing. And it's so cheap. It tastes better than the food here, and it's a lot cheaper than the food here. So it's like,
hey. That's a good combo.
Yeah.
It's one hell of a combo. I can't remember what you said. The Bolin's, did you guys hike up on it or was it brought to you?
The Bolin's?
Yeah, we found one on the way up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where was the snake? How did you find it?
It was sitting in just a patch of grass.
Yeah,
okay.
It was like surrounded by
it was like in a picture perfect kind of setting in a way, like the background was the mountain and it was kind of sitting there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have photos of it.
Huh. Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the first wild male.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was your first male.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
How big was it?
6. No, not 6. I would say.
Are you sure?
No, it was at least 6.5 feet.
Oh yeah.
6
more
and a
than
half.
6. Yeah,
Okay,
for
so
sure.
like a sub-adult kind of.
No, don't take that back. It was an adult animal. I would say it was closer to. It wasn't huge. It was probably like 7.
Not compared to a
7.5.
female.
But fully changed.
Yeah, fully changed.
Okay.
Yeah, it was thinner than the females.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
completely different.
Yeah. So Lisa, I mean that was Ari's first male he's ever seen in the wild, and what?
Yeah.
Dozens of females.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
It's really
yeah.
Yeah. So I would say so. Yeah, he had his good luck charm.
I was gonna say. I was just gonna say that good luck charm.
So, man. Well, shoot. I mean.
Anyway, wild sugarcane.
Yeah, I wild sugar cane, and I have a sugar addiction. So like, I was there chewing on it the whole time. I'm like, this is great. Where do we get some?
Oh man, that's hilarious.
So good.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I always love hearing the stories of the trips over there. I mean, that's something I know I need to do. So I feel like every person I talk to who can have some sort of story, or like hearing about Ryan Young and Nick Mutton just going over to Raja Ampat. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I can say it seems, because I haven't been there, like such a magical, incredible place. And everyone I've talked to, you two included, you back that up. So yeah, I mean, it's incredible that you were able to go there. I'm really, really happy that you were able to make that trip happen. Yeah. So that's awesome.
Well, and the extra cool thing is, like, I mean, I didn't sound like when I said it, I was that excited about the Bolins, but my mind was blown because, I mean, even before I knew Ari, I had an obsession with Bolins and sailfins, and I had never ever thought I'd even see one in person of either of those things, because I just wasn't around that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
When I was younger, working at pet shops and stuff, and I had no idea I was gonna meet the Bolins guy. So little did I know I'd even see one in the wild. Get that cocky smirk over there.
That's supposed to be your podcast.
Yeah, I know. Whatever.
We've been hiding Ari in the background for too long.
Yeah, he's in the shadows. It's my time to shine, Ari. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that's.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Did you see sailfins? Were you in range for sailfins?
No, but I mean in general, because now I'm working with them. But I mean, Ari's taking some people out to see them. Out there, they're called Soa, and I really love that name. But so one of these days, I won't be able to make it. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, he's taking Alex. About it, yeah.
That'll be a future podcast for sure.
Yeah. I won't be able to make it this time, but one of these days, that's one of my other top species.
Okay.
So yeah,
awesome.
That's going to be really cool. I can't wait to see what they photograph and the stories and stuff of that one. Yeah.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Well, shoot. I mean, I don't think there's a better way to wrap up a podcast than on the finding the male Bolins in the wild story.
Yeah.
So, I mean, thank you for doing this. It's been a long time coming. You've kind of been on a few of these Reptilandia podcasts, but never like never the actual focus of one. So it was long overdue.
I appreciate it.
No, thanks for doing it. So for anyone who wants to keep up with what you're doing, follow you to see when any of your projects are coming to fruition, becoming available, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah. So on Facebook, it'll be Blackstone Exotics. I actually have a little logo on my phone, so maybe that'll help.
There you go.
So if you see that logo on Facebook or Instagram, you can follow me there, and I post a lot of my animal ventures, the stuff I'm breeding. I'll post little videos of things I find interesting that the animals are doing. So yeah, I mean, if that's stuff you think is cool,
Yeah, definitely give her a follow. Yeah. So I guess as we wrap it up, I'll say once again for everyone here, well, I guess first, shout out to everyone who's been in the live chat tonight. Most appreciated, all of you guys. If you're here on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. That's the other one. Subscribe, like, comment, share, do all that good stuff. If you're on the audio platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., follow and a 5-star review is most appreciated. I am on Instagram, scrubshepherd, Stephen Kush, Facebook, Stephen Kush on YouTube as well. MORPH Market, Kush Reptile. Here every single Wednesday on the Trap Talk Reptile Network. And that is what we have for you guys tonight. So with all that said, thank you guys for tuning into this episode. We'll catch you all back here next week for a new one.